All right, shalom, shalom. First things first, I want to give our honor and praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Mechachrash. We say Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahushai, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahushai, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahushai, Bahashem Mechachrash. And we give double honors to our apostles and our elders, which are the apostle elders, a great millstone, which feed us with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding through the spirit and power of Yahweh Yahushai. Let's jump right into it. 2026, hell of a year, the year of apostates, fallouts, and spies. Everything is culminating. This is a very heavy year. It's already been, very heavy. Damn near April already, so coming up to the Pesach. So all these things are very, intensifying because the Lord is calling his elect home. The prophecies are ushering in the kingdom of heaven. We're witnessing a lot of things take place in the earth. Okay, so we're going to jump into this this video. We're going to jump in here.
Impact if this goes on.
Pause it.
This is not just.
Okay, so this video here, it's hitting because you see the gas prices that are going up. It hits, $3.54. I think it's about 305, 309 around my area. And it was only $2.99, $2.95 on Friday. Okay, so it's already jumped, and because the market is starting to feel it. But it's not going to be an oil crisis, it's an everything crisis. Okay, because this woman is going to break it down to you that oil is also a derivative, also has derivatives and things that come out of that production that's going to affect a large amount of things. And these elites, these people in the know, they know exactly what's going on because they have their hands in all of the economic inner workings. Okay, they control the cog wheels in this clock. So they control the springs, the cogs, the screws, the nuts and bolts, because they own everything. So they know what comes out of oil, what it makes, what it affects, what it is a part of. So that's the word I'm looking for. What oil actually entails in the worldwide scale. So what she's gonna break down on what's gonna affect once this oil crisis really, and Iran ain't going. This is a place that idolizes martyrdom, so they're not stopping. Death is something that you can't scare them with. But this can also lead, and I said this in past videos, can also lead to the implementation of this new currency, this new financial system, when the smoke and the dust clears. Okay, so we're waiting on MOTB, and this could very well usher in that new financial system where people are going to be at a new horizon when it comes to the world and how it's ran and what's supply chains, how things are coming to you in the grocery stores. All these can be affected, and then people are going to cry because everybody depends on the government. And the Apostle Elder brought that out, that the word government means mind control, gov, which it means control, and ment goes to the word mental, your mind. So it's controlling your mind. So they control the people by way of the government, and people are very dependent on the so-called status quo. And if that status quo is changed, then you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be feeling that pinch. So I'm going to go from the beginning of this, and I'm going to play it, Lord willing, as edifying lesson. And may Yahweh Shem Yahushua keep us in these times, man. Keep our minds solid. Keep our, that's why it says knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy time. So we're not worrying about what's coming down the pipe. We're worrying about how we handle those things, and we keep the faith and we keep the gospel. Let me go here. All right.
Oil prices beyond gas, home heating. How broad is the potential impact if this goes on?
This is not just an oil crisis. It's sort of an everything crisis, because it's not just about oil. It's about all of the things that are made from oil. So just as an example, something like 90% of the world's sulfur is made through processing oil. And sulfuric acid, is used in all sorts of other processes. It's used, for example, to extract cobalt and copper Cobalt goes into a lot of batteries around the world. So you have these cascading effects from a disruption in what seems to be one market, but actually that market's products is sort of the feedstock for a lot of downstream industries that use either byproducts of oil itself, byproducts of oil, petrochemicals, things like that.
See? Petrochemicals. She's going to go into nitrogen. All these things that are in use on everyday products and everyday things. Because these elites, one thing that people don't understand is that the elites are forcing the world to use oil and these different, they are archaic, if I'm saying it right, because they have clean energy. The Lord has provided technology, and they have technology. If you go into Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, all these higher up places with secret technology, they got propulsion systems. We don't have to use oil. You know, I always say this, that, you know, that the elites are part of that, because it says that we're going to sport ourselves. We're going to, you know, enjoy the riches of these Gentiles, or we're going to enjoy the riches. We're going to suck the breasts of kings, and we're going to boast ourselves in their wealth and what comes with that wealth, not just gold and silver and all these, but the technologies that they've been hiding from the world. Okay, clean energy, all these things that can make people's lives, if not, it's going to be paradise on the planet Earth, because once the Lord establishes the 144,000 and the 1/3, which is the governmental body, and then all Israel will be saved through those that are saved from Babylon the Great and parts of the planet Earth. Okay, that's the first fruits. They're going to be able to establish a kingdom that's going to be ruled worldwide. Okay, so the part of that 1,000 years is gutting out Esau's bullshit. That's why you had that Jake that made the technology about making diesel fuel out of plastics. Why is that coming now out of all the times? And they haven't killed him, to my knowledge. You know, they let him pretty much come out with it. He started a Hellcat with plastic gas. So plastic can be turned into gasoline, to show you the Most High thought of everything. Even letting, that's why it says the foolishness of the Most High is wiser than men. You would think, why would the Lord let all these plastics and pollution? But he got a solution to it. He got a solution. The problem is, the problem that Esau's done is going to be fixed by the same thing that he caused. So the plastics in the ocean and the waters gathered up, used the technology that Jake came up with. If he's here or not, if he's not, the technology's out there. The Lord is showing that you're able to make fuel out of plastics and waste. So that alone can power a lot of the things that are, you know, taking place. But the clean energy is what I'm speaking about, that these elites have hidden with hydrogen power. What's the thing? Fusion. Okay, you have a lot of clean energy with engines that use different fuels that are cleaner and more earth or more healthy. Okay, so that's the main thing I wanted to say on that. Let's keep playing.
That, and of course you have the higher shipping costs that come from more expensive gasoline and more expensive diesel. So that's going to drive prices up as well, even if there aren't petrochemicals in the goods that are themselves being shipped. And as was alluded to earlier, you have a lot of fertilizer or the components for fertilizer that also come normally through the Strait of Hormuz. And right now you're already seeing fertilizer prices skyrocket, farmers freaking out, trying to hoard.
And if the fertilizer is not coming in, because we're in the spring planting season, so if this certain countries are hoarding it, she's going to go into it, but that's going to affect your grocery stores directly, not just the oil and the trucks putting it in their gas tanks to be able to make it to the store, the derivatives that come from it. Okay, the gardeners themselves, the planters, they're going to be hurt by it because they don't have what they use to so-called strengthen their crops, because they're not following the land Sabbath. So they have to make and use certain things that allow the produce to grow at a certain level, because they're not honoring the land Sabbath. They're not letting the land rest Okay, that's why the Lord said there remaineth a rest for Israel. The Lord has to put a rest on the planet Earth itself. Okay, there's a rest coming just in the time of the flood. The earth is at rest, even though there's a lot of water on it. But the Lord, the earth don't drown. Okay, but it put the earth at rest after the judgment that was in the time of the first death. Okay, with Noah and his family. So now it's coming to the second death, which is going to be another rest. Okay.
Fertilizer prices skyrocket. Farmers freaking out, trying to hoard as much fertilizer as they can because we're about to go into the spring planting season, or in some parts of the world, they're already in the spring planting season. Brazil, for example, is one of the biggest importers of fertilizer. I believe they're about to go into their soybean planting season. So if you have a disruption, not only in oil, but the byproducts of oil, things like the ingredients that go into fertilizer, that has these, again, cascading effects through lots of other industries that will
You heard what she
ultimately.
said, a cascading event.
So if you have a disruption, not only in oil, but the byproducts of oil, things like the ingredients that go into fertilizer, that has these, again, cascading effects through lots of other industries that will ultimately make their way to consumer prices. It won't be immediate, but it will work their way through the food chain, through the supply chain.
So beyond direct oil prices, beyond gas.
See? So that right there is showing you that the Lord is playing 3D chess, 4D chess, interdimensional chess, however you want to, whatever chess you want to call it. The Lord is playing and he's beating and he's winning. All right, he's winning. He's made the game. He's a player in the game. He's the pieces in the game. So it's set. Now you're gonna have economical woes that you never imagined. So I pulled in Revelation 6 and verse 8. Revelation 6 to verse 8. Okay, just going in an outline, right? It says detailed outline. Revelation 6 to 8. Passage describes the opening of the third and fourth seals, introducing the black horse and the pale horse. The third seal, the black horse, verses 5 to 6, symbolism in scarcity. The black horse signifies mourning and famine, and the rider holds a pair of scales representing the high price and economic injustice. Okay, voice of authority, a voice from the throne declares a denarius, a day's wage, buys either 1 quart of wheat, or one person's meal, or 3 quarters of barley, cheaper grain for the family. It says the command to spare, the command, oh, do not harm the oil and the wine, because that transcends onto what? The truth, the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That's why it says that there should be a cry for wine in the streets. Okay, the Lord said that there should be a famine of the word, not a famine of bread, but of hearing the words of the Lord. So there's going to be a famine, okay, of this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, but it's going to be preserved by way of what? The apostles and the elders and the men that's pushing this truth, that have that doctrine, and that's why it says seal them in their minds. Because once this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is placed into your heart, your lob, okay, your mind, then you won't be able to process it and keep. That's why it says keep your crowns. Let no man take your crowns. Okay, what is the true crown is the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding Yahweh Shai is given to us. So that's our crown. That's the thing that we wear proudly. That's why we says we openly declare our power. We openly declare our Savior. Okay, and it says the fourth seal, pale horse. Okay, represent what? Esau, the rider named Death. The pale green horse represent a corpse of a rider. Rider is death. And let's just go down here. They go off on that, but the main point I wanted to hit is here. It says prophetic signifies an end times economic crisis. The vision point to a future economic crisis where the global system fails. Hyperinflation and food insecurities. The Darius represents the average worker's wage, spending everything on basic bread, illustrating hyperinflation and collapse of purchasing power, where you get the dollar dominance is going to be taken away. Like I said before, the elites U.S. is not going to doesn't have to be at the head of this economic system to come. Okay, the MOTB is going to be a worldwide system, but it doesn't say that the U.S. is going to have dollar dominance. It's just saying that the system is going to be pushed out. Okay, so the elites could say that they don't want Babylon to be at the helm of this, but it's going to be a worldwide currency that they're going to control. Finally, they're not going to have to wait to put up another nation and to make these wars, to be able to move the goalposts to the goal. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to worry about having to set this leader up, because once they implement this digital currency, is one, it says all be all. Everything is going to be put into that system, and that's going to be the one that's going to run it continually in their minds. Okay, and it says a social economic disparity, the protection of oil and wine, luxury goods suggests wealthy may initially be insulated, creating an explosive gap between rich and poor. And we know that we're going to be taken care of, Lord willing, if we be a part of that number, because if the Lord has set up that hedge, going back to even Elijah when he had everything set for him, okay, even going to the woman that provided him that food to eat, okay. So there's going to be different people that the Lord places in your way, different situations, different areas, however the Lord has it, where you're going to be preserved if you be a part of that royal and holy number. And it says, supporting scripture, historical evidence. It says the prophecy mirrors warnings from Old Testament and Yahushai. Leviticus 26, Leviticus 26 and 26, and Ezekiel 4 to 16 to 17 warn of breaking the staff of bread where food is rationed by weight. See, Matthews 24 and 7 confirms famines and pestilences and birth pangs of the end times, because it's likened unto a woman in travail, a woman that is getting ready to have a childbirth. You have something called contractions. The contractions are the thing that are getting ready for the baby to come into the world. And what's that baby? That's the kingdom of heaven. That's getting ready to be birthed into this chaos. Just like if you've seen a baby come into the world, or a child, it's chaotic. There's no water breaking, woman pushing, woman's in pain, screaming, hollering out. The baby can hear everything. So the baby's hearing the lamentations and the woe of the mother as it's coming into the world. Even the epidurals don't help that much. They help to a certain level, but the baby has to hear those things. It's coming into the world, it's seeing light for the first time. It's being pushed through a cramped space. That's why it says the straight gate, okay? The narrow path, just like this truth is likened unto a narrow path. The birth of a baby is coming through a narrow path that only one can come out at a time. Even if you have twins, only one can come out of the womb at a given time. So this truth is likened unto that birth of a baby, a birth of a child into the world. So only one can come out at a time. So same thing, the kingdom of heaven is being birthed through great tribulation. That's why it says that they were taken and they made it through great tribulation, okay? And it says Matthews 24 and 7, confirming famines, pestilence, and birth pangs of the end times. Ezekiel 14:21 lists Yahweh's 4 severe judgments: sword, famine, wild beasts, pestilence, directly parallel the 4th seal. Okay? It's going into different things like that, but the main point is hit. Let me see here. This is the book of Ecclesiastes 12 and 4, because all these are going to lead to a shutdown and a slowing down of the economy at an all-time rate, because the Strait of Hormuz controls a large amount of oil that is produced or that is shipped throughout the world. And Iran has said that they ain't letting shit slide in, okay? So they're going to gusto with it. But this is Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 4, NLT. Remember him before the doors of life, opportunity is closed, and the sound of work fades. See, because you can't depend on something that's fading. It's all temporal. Okay, so you don't know what you're going to be doing in these last times and the latter times, especially when shit gets hot. The apostles always tell us that you don't know where you're going to be in that time. You might not be in the same location. You might have to be fluid. That's why the scriptures say, be as a pilgrim on the earth. So we don't know what we're going to, but be excited, man. The Lord is, you want to go with the Most High because he has the overview effect. He has the overview vision of everything. He doesn't have you're on the ground, just like an ant. If you look at an ant don't know It's just walking among the leaves and the grass and whatever objects is walking, concrete. It just sees what's in front of it. But you, as an observer, you see the overview effect. You see what's coming 5 feet in front of the ant or a foot in front of the ant. The ant can't see it. It just has to walk by faith. It has to walk. It has to walk its path. But the Lord can see the overview of everything. He can see the full spectrum of everything that's coming down the pike and around you at the time. So the same thing with us. We have to trust the Heavenly Father because he sees the full spectrum. We don't see the full spectrum. We see a part. We only see what's in front of us. That's why it says faith is the belief of things not seen and hoped for. So that's why we lean on him, because he knows the road. He knows the dangers. He knows the pitfalls. You know, you might not know you come into a cliff because you can't see it until you get there. But the Lord sees it way before you get there. Same way as an ant. You see to an ant, the Lord sees to us. That's why it says he sees men as grasshoppers on the earth. Okay? It says, remember him before the doors of life opportunity is closed and the sound of work fades. Now you rise at the first chirping of the birds, but not all their souls will grow faint. King James Version. The doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. And you see that now. The music industry is trash. All these things that were once glorified is being put down low. Okay? So the mentality is this is not just the oil crisis. This will be an everything crisis. You know, and I'm going to title it that. And to show you, you know, dive into it. But I seen that video and the spirit jumped on me to, do a lesson about it and go over it, man, to show you that this is, hey, this is the times we're looking for. We ain't crying over GMO, human meat and bullshit that's put out here already. We waiting on that true organic, that spiritual organic, that kingdom organic where we don't know your chicken. You don't know that chicken. You don't know his family. You don't know him. You don't know him from egg to plate, But I'm just, reiterating things and waiting on the kingdom to come. A beautiful thing is ahead of us. As being Israelites, we have a great blessing that the Lord is getting ready to bestow upon the elect first, and that's going to transcend onto the rest of the nation, which are Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that are spread out through the four corners of the planet Earth. So with that, I say, call hello, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Until the next time, I say shalom, and more not, and never keep faith. Shalom.